Good day, welcome. This is your Daily Med with Lady V. Today we want to take a look at God's providential protection. When we look at Psalm 91, we can see that it is the eulogy of God's marvelous protection of his children. Those that dwell in the secret place of the Most High. Why? Because he hath set his love upon them. He says he will give his angel charge over his people to keep them in all their ways. Christ simple spoke of the guardian angels of children in St. Matthew 18:10. And the older ones are assured that these heavenly beings are surrounding and protecting them. Hebrew 1:14. So protection is afforded against harm, against diseases, against danger. When we look at God's protection against harm in Psalm 34:7, Psalm 41 verse 2, and in 2 Chronicles 16 verse 9, also in Zechariah 2:5 and St. Luke 21:18. We see from the story of Elisha how God protected him when the entire Syrian army came to capture the prophet. For months this man of God had been revealing the Syrians' war plan to the king of Israel. And now the Syrians' host of horses and chariots and infantry surrounded the city in which this prophet resides. What is happening? The servant of the prophet looked out one morning and he saw a terrible sight. He was greeted. His eyes saw this vast army seeking the life of one man, the prophet, the man of God. And so the servant was terrified. And he cried out, "Alas, my master! Look at what is happening. We are surrounded." But the man of God was able to say, "Fear not. For guess what? They that are with us are more than they that are what? Against us." So the prophet prayed that the eyes of his servant may be open to see the heavenly hosts that had covered the mountain to protect them from the Syrian army. Such is the protection of God for his children. You see, what the enemy doesn't know, that if the man of God knew all these things about his plan that God had allowed him to reveal to the king of Israel, why would God not reveal to him that he was surrounded by the Syrians' army? And so the man of God, under the protection of God, lay in his bed. He didn't have to even go out and look to see what was going on, but was able to say to the servant, "We do not have to worry. We have God's protection." We see God protects against diseases in Deuteronomy 7 verse 15, Exodus 15:26, and yes, Psalm 91 verse 6 and verse 10, James 4 and verse 14. The Bible tells us life is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then what? Vanish away. So there are thousands of gates to death. We see men dying simple things, being choked on the seed of a grape, carried off the cliff by a puff of foul air, germs of fatal diseases that are all about us. So it is only God's providence that keep us from contracting all the many different diseases in which we come in contact with. We understand that God takes better care of us than we can even imagine to take care of ourselves. His care exceeds that of our friends, of that of our families, of that of the physicians, because He cares about us. And so many things He has protected us from. Somebody say if He should have rolled back the curtain and show us some of the things that was set to befall us, had it not been for His protection, that alone probably will cause us our very hearts to fail when we realize the things that He has protected us from. He has protected us from evil. Even in our lesson today, Psalm 91:10, Psalm 121 verse 3 to 8. And of course, when we look at Psalm 121, it is called the Traveler's Psalm. It is a prayer or a meditation that travelers would say or keep in mind the God's providential care, His protecting care. Not only keeps from evil, but it preserves the soul. He protects from temptation. He makes the way of escape so we are able to bear it. Many men and women's character has been spared, has been saved by God's providence. Thank God for His preservation. He has not led us into temptation, as the scripture says, but delivered us from evil. We see His providential guidance in Genesis 45:7, in Esther 4 verse 14, Psalm 37:5. We see it in Daniel 2:21, and we have also seen it in Psalm 37, the psalm that is called the Fret Not Psalm. Not only are the verses included the fret not, but its entire content of that psalm speaks of God's providential direction in the lives of those who trust in Him. The good man is exhorted to commit his ways unto the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. God has a plan for each of His children and will guide such one, him or her, and direct him or her once what he is surrounded by the providence or the care or the preservation of God. When we look at the life of Joseph, Joseph had fully surrendered his life to God's program. And guess what happened? God was with him. God had in mind that Joseph would become what? The governor of Egypt. How was this to be done? It had to start somewhere, because there is a plan. And in God's providence, in time, he is going to work it out. So sometimes we see some things that grieve us, things that doesn't look so good begin to happen, and then we begin to wonder, am I really in the plan of God? Am I really under his divine protection? But yes, you are, as long as you have trusted, surrendered your life, and have committed your ways unto him. First of all, Joseph's brother had to eat him. The next thing, they had to put him in a pit. Why was he not killed while he was in the pit? Why did his brother Reuben delayed in coming to take him back out of the pit? Because God had planned to have the Ishmaelites come along at the right moment and take him. Then they had to take him to Egypt. Why did they sell Joseph to Potiphar? Why was Joseph falsely accused and thrown into the dungeon, into the dark prison? How did the baker and the butler offended the king? Why did they both dream? Why did they both know I can talk to this man and he would interpret our dreams? Why did they forget him for 2 years? And then here comes the dream of Pharaoh. These are all connecting the links to the plan and the purpose and the providence of God for Joseph's life. If Joseph had not been put in the pit, he would never have been the servant of Potiphar. He would have never been thrown into prison. He would have never interpreted the dreams of the baker and the butler, and then finally for that of Pharaoh. He would have never been sent for. God put Joseph into prison so Pharaoh could find him when he wanted him. That's God's providence. How well Joseph recognized this providential leading had to be directed by the statement that he made finally to his brothers. He said, "Be not grieved that he sold me thither, for God did send me before you to preserve life." It seemed as if his life wasn't really going to be spared. When they did all this to him, they even thought he was really dead as they sold the story to their father. But God used this one guy, Joseph, to preserve the life of many. For all those who got corn that he stored up in Egypt, not only his brethren, but all the others whose lives were preserved because of what he did. Because God had a plan for him to become the governor in Egypt. Yes, God has a plan for your life. Yes, he has a purpose. It is the whole reason why he is preserving you and me. May we, like Joseph, find that purpose today. May we surrender our all to him and put our trust and our confidence in him. Know that he is capable and well able to protect and to preserve us. God bless you. Thank you again for your support. Please like, please subscribe, and please share.